So how do you hold the guitar? Well, that's all a matter of preference. I prefer it on my left leg. Some people like it over on their right leg, like this. And that's perfectly fine. If you feel comfortable that way, by all means do it that way. But again, I prefer it on my left leg. Now there's a couple reasons why I like it this way. And by the way, this is called the classical position. Maybe you see pictures of guitar players, classical guitar players. You're gonna see them with it rested on their left leg. Now, one of the reasons is because when you play, you're in a good position where your wrist is not going to feel all kinds of tension. Be able to access this pretty easily, and you can also access all these frets pretty easily. I have it over on my right leg. When I play like this, my wrist is kind of tilted in a way that I feel some pressure in there. When I go over here and try to play up here, I'm all squished up trying to play, and yeah, I don't like that at all. But again, if you prefer that way, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Now the other reason I like this way is because when I'm sitting down or standing up, the guitar is going to be in the same exact position. Let me show you. So obviously this is sitting down, standing up, sitting down, same exact position. Because of this, I'm going to be playing in the same exact way. I'm going to feel comfortable both ways. Now if I go over here in my right leg, I'm used to playing like this. I go to stand up. You don't usually play like this. You shift the guitar and you're playing it like that. Now because you're holding it in two different positions, well, when you're sitting down, you're going to play fine and everything's going to feel comfortable. You stand up, you got to shift it. You're not used to that way, and you're not going to be comfortable at all anymore. And the end result is your playing is going to suffer. Now, I suppose if you practiced enough, you get used to that. You can sit down for part of your practice, stand up for part of your practice. But again, I just prefer this way because you're in the same position when you're sitting down or standing up. Now another thing to keep in mind too is see how my guitar neck is just tilted a little bit up. My arm can freely move around. Well, one thing you don't want to do is ever have the guitar where your hand is supporting the neck. You don't want that, otherwise it's going to be harder to move around the neck. You do not want that. Plus you got to reach all over, and it's just not a good way to do it. Make sure your guitar is sitting like this, and you can actually take your hand off and it still stays up there. Now you can also support it with your right arm. That kind of helps it. Now this is a good thing to talk about too. Whenever you're playing, kind of keep your arm in the one spot. This way, when you're strumming or you're playing something, you have a point of reference, and your arm and your hand is going to be able to record distances from the low E to the high E, or your A to your G string. It's going to start to remember this after a while. Go like this, there's no point of reference, and you're always going to be playing all over the strings and playing sloppy and missing strings. You don't want that. Get that just rested lightly on your guitar body, and then stick with that so you're playing the same all the time. Another thing you can do is take your pinky, rest it on your guitar. This is for a little smaller movements. You're playing some lead, and that's really good for getting a little bit more smaller, accurate playing. When you're strumming though, you want your arm to be free so you can loosen up that wrist and really swing it. Now if I go and I try that with my pinky here, I can play, but you have limited motion there, and you don't want that. You want your arm to be able to move freely.